Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Edged and Gone. My name is Sam Singt, and I'm here joined with my co host.
Hello, I am Abraz. I'm co-host of Sam Muhibuddin over here. Excited for this first episode of this inaugural series, Edged and Gone. Now, Sam, what is different about this series, do you think, from any other cricket podcast that we have?
I think the spice that we really add is that, we're not focused on a team. We're not really focused on a set of players, but we are just giving the outlook of the cricket world, putting detail, putting importance into every single team, all of their latest developments. We're gonna look out for new players. We have a section for that as well, and hopefully, as this podcast grows, we are gonna maybe get some interaction from the fans as well. As we're gonna love to see that. We're gonna answer some questions. So, I think this is what really separates us. We are trying to be the world's cricket podcast. That is our goal.
Exactly, Sam. This is the Globe's cricket podcast, as we put it earlier on. I think one of the big issues is a lot of people view cricket as a dying sport.
Mhm.
It's not, or whether ICC is to be blamed for that, whether the sport itself is to be blamed, whether individual national cricket boards are to be blamed. But it seems that the sport is very much seen as only from one part of the world. It's only the South Asians who enjoy cricket. That's sort of like the stereotype about the sport. But even still, even within South Asia, you see forms of cricket like Test cricket dying out, and that's something that I don't think either of us want or any cricket fan wants.
That
So
is
this
true.
this is sort of a way for people to be keeping up with what's happening in global cricket, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in the West Indies, India, whether it's in Sri Lanka, or even the US and the Netherlands. Cricket is a global sport, and we're here to show it. We'll be showing what a lot of the mainstream media won't be showing.
I completely agree with you there, Abraz, and especially given how the recent T20 World Cup was here in North America. It's you can we can see that cricket is trying to grow, and we're gonna help them grow. And on that topic, I think we can begin with the first, piece
Segment
of
of the show.
news. Yes, the first segment. So here we are. It was the World Cup analysis. So what did we learn from that? Let's delve into just the champions, right? The Indian teams. Let's just delve into that. The Dravid era is over, and welcome the Gambhir era. So let's go through what's happening. Abraz, if you'd like to kick us off here.
So there's two teams in the world right now, Sam, that are dominating cricket, I believe, and it's Australia and India. They're ranked number one and number two in all three formats of the game. India are number one in ODIs as well as in T20s at the moment. And a big part of that comes from that T20 World Cup win they got. I think it was about time they won a trophy, Sam. About time. It's a team that is the richest cricket board on the planet. They have all the resources you need. They have the best platform for young superstars to be coming out from in the Indian Premier League, or from a first class point of view, the Ranji Trophy is there as well. But it was just disappointing how year after year after year after year they just couldn't make it, whether they're losing out in the semifinals or the finals, or a couple of years they didn't even make it out the group stages. It was very disappointing for them, and I think this time round they really had that extra push. I think eventually, after getting that many chances and missing out, the players really got out there, followed the senior players, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, who have won trophies before, and really under them taking that inspiration, making their way to the end line, getting that trophy
Yeah,
that they were trying to get for so long.
I completely agree. I mean, it was a team. It was almost like a Galacticos team, that India team, right? If you think about the names in there, right? And obviously, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, you know, Mohammad Shami. I mean, like, unfortunately, he could not play the T20, but like, what a World Cup he had. The ODI World Cup. So I'm just like, the thing is that it's like when you have this arsenal, right? This set of players, you would have just expected like a clean sweep, like all the time, and like you said, they always fell short. And I think I think one of the reasons for this time was that the Rohit Sharma captaincy, right? That really surprised me. I mean, I think one of the most cool, level-headed captains that I have seen in cricket, right? I mean, this guy knows how to deal with pressure. Just watch an interview. There's no emotion, there's no pressure, there's nothing. He's like, was gonna go get the job done. And this was, Rahul Dravid's last hurrah as well, overlooking the team. So he really did want to end off strong over there.
I
But
think, Sam, you
yeah.
bring up an interesting point here because one of the differences that you could really see between a previous India team and this India team, you look at the leadership, I think. Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri, you look at their personas versus Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid's personas.
Mm,
A lot more common, cool, and collected. Now, and obviously, not taking anything away from Virat Kohli. We'll come to him shortly as well. He's obviously grown to become a very calm player who can take on the pressure. In a recent interview, Tamim Iqbal said that nobody in the world takes pressure as good as Virat Kohli does because nobody in the world has the pressure that Virat Kohli
that
has,
is true.
being the greatest player of this generation and
Yeah,
one of the
I
greatest
mean,
players of all time.
absolutely. When he's going to retire,
But
he's going to
I
be the top
think
batsman. Yeah.
there was always something in his persona that made him a little bit restless. And it happens from time to time. But maybe that's not what you need in the leadership all the time. And it was proven, when MS Dhoni was captain, that's when the last time they won a major trophy. You need someone there who's calm and collected. It's same with Australia. Look at Pat Cummins; he's very calm. You look at Sri Lanka, and when they were under Ranatunga, very calm man. Imran Khan for Pakistan. Even you look at Bangladesh under Mashrafi, who's one of the more calm players of the team. Was when they succeeded the most. So I think that was one of the bigger things that took them far ahead. Sam, I want to talk a bit more about India just outside the scope of the T20 World Cup, because obviously that was a clean sweep. They
Mm,
demolished everybody that came in their way.
absolutely.
But I also want to talk a bit about them in ODIs and in tests. Now, they're also ranked number one in ODIs because they almost had that full clean sweep in the ODI World Cup when they went
That's
unbeaten.
true.
They could have won the entire tournament. Um, but in particular, I want to talk about Test cricket, Sam, because this is one trophy that they've been trying to get for a while now. The Test World Test Championship. They made two finals in a row, 2019, 2020 to 2021. That was one final they made. And then the 2021 to 2023, they also made that finals, but lost both of them. Once to New Zealand and once to Australia. Is that something they're going to be having a special eye on and with this new team under Gambhir?
I think they actually will. I mean, if we just look at the most recent test match that they had with Bangladesh, right? I think this truly was a sneak peek into the future of what's about to come for India, right? We see some smiles here because, well, we are from Bangladesh, so yeah, it was quite a loss. And you know how one trend in test that's we love to talk about, right, is baseball, right? Like oh my god, when England comes on, all of a sudden, Ben Stokes are gonna start smashing, that whole baseball flurry that came from England. This Gambhir team is much more willing to take risks, and I like that. They like to play the dangerous shots. one of my not complaints, but one of my criticisms was, what really perplexed me was that, okay, look at the Indian team when they go to like these big matches, like the ODI World Cups, T20 World Cups. They always play it safe. They always play it safe. Like, it's like, okay, you know what? We're gonna get some sure shot, batsmen, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, etc. Surya Kumar Yadav. We just like the lineup, like from the get go, what's gonna happen. But if you look at, for example, India's greatest, like domestic, and I think the biggest domestic, tournament in general, right? The IPL, the biggest cricket, like the short format league. You see names like, I think what, like Akash Deep, like Abhishek Sharma. Like, what even was Abhishek Sharma's strike rate last IPL? It was insane. Like you never saw those numbers, right? Like what, 280, 300. And you have such a big pool of talent that are so fired up. India never took, risks of taking players like these. And I think with the Gambhir era, because Gambhir was also the coach of, like the Gujarat, was it? I think it was Gujarat, right? Yeah, I believe
Yes,
so.
he was the mentor of Lucknow Super
Yeah,
Giants.
yeah, sir, mentor of Lucknow Super Giants. He also won the IPL himself. So I think
He
he
was also the
has,
mentor of KKR, by the way, who recently won
yeah,
the
who just
IPL as
recent,
well.
yeah, just recently won. He won it as a player and now as a mentor for KKR just recently. So Gambhir, he has that mentality that, what, I like to take risks. And this is going to be the key difference. And you can already see that within the play in this most recent test game, with Bangladesh. It's a much more fired up India. And I like that. And I think this is how I think test matches are going to go. In my opinion, it's going to become much more fast paced. It's going to, they're going to take on more risks. And that's the future, in my opinion.
So I think it was the attitude, like you said, that was really important there. Rohit Sharma, before the test series began, he said, even this is Bangladesh, who don't have a very good record in away test matches. He said that I we will not take this game lightly because we want to win the World Test Championship and every game is important. That mentality right there. When in the second test or in any test match, if it is rained out on day 2, day 3, and day 4, how on earth you can have that mentality that we're still going to finish 4 innings and we know we're going to win this game, regardless of your opponent, is massive. And I think they really showed their talent there. They came out and they scored. They got Bangladesh all out, first of all, for 233, then came on to bat 285 for 9. Don't let that scorecard deceive you. It may look like not a very big scorecard, but they got that 285 runs in just 34 overs.
Yep.
In just 34 overs, they scored 285. Doesn't matter if you lost 9 wickets because at that point there's only 1 day left. And KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill, and Yashasvi Jaiswal, even Rohit Sharma in the beginning just came and smashed it everywhere. And then they had that confidence in them that, okay, now we're going to come out and bowl them out for 100 less than 150. And that's what they did. Had a target of just 95 and then chased it down in 17 overs. It's that mentality that we're going to win is what any successful team needs to have. You can't underplay yourself. You have to be able to believe that you can win, which is so big. And the likes of these players that you're mentioning is massive. This kid, Yashasvi Jaiswal,
Yeah.
he is incredible. He is something special. He will be something special. And I think, I'm not sure if you followed it, but a few years ago in 2020, I believe, the under 19 World Cup that Bangladesh won. In
Yes.
that was the class of Jaiswal tournament. Every game he played in, he scored a half century. Every single game in at least half century in the entire tournament. The Indian batting lineup in that under 19 team hadn't gotten beyond 3 wickets down in the entire tournament until the finals. Which is why when Bangladesh were able to get Jaiswal out, the rest of the team just collapsed. But
it was his team. Yeah.
that's when I first saw this guy, and I knew then that this obviously if you're the superstar player of an under 19 India team, chances are you're going to go on to do good things.
Absolutely.
So that he's a very special player. He's ranked quite highly, I believe, now as well in the latest test batting rankings, I believe.
Yeah, no, and it's good, and I like that they're giving him more of a chance now because there was a bit where they weren't really making him play. So
Yep,
you
I
so you
agree.
know so like this is what I want to see. As I was saying, like in this Gambhir era, give these guys a chance. You have a full load, and like the old guard is it's about time, right? We've seen David Warner retire. Who knows how longer the Fab Four are gonna play, right? So um yeah, I think it's about time that we see some new blood. So with this mentality, I think big things are coming for India. And so with Bangladesh, I just want to move on to the next topic because an interesting I'll segue in a very interesting way is that
Oh,
because
I know exactly what segue is coming up here because it went through my mind as well. But go ahead,
yes.
take the floor.
So you mentioned how Bangladesh does not have a good away test record, right? So we just won our seventh away test out of 67, and that team that we beat was Pakistan. So we
But twice.
that is true.
It's amazing, right? Pakistan, what? They confuse me incredibly, Sam. This is a team I just and there's you and me, right? And then there's world-class cricket analysts. And I don't think even they can really put together what to make of this team
I
because
agree. I
it's
agree.
one of okay, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna in this topic about Pakistan. I'm gonna start off with a question and be honest, right? Whatever you believe, are they the worst team in Asia right now?
Honestly, with Sri Lanka going up and everyone, I think they are. That is just where it stands on like with that team. And it's so sad because the talent that they have, they just can't utilize it. It just does not work. And I think a lot of it is just in the head. It is just in the head. Prime example, T20 World Cup, right? Historically, you know, with India versus Pakistan, probably the most watched, that is going to be the most watched game of the year if it's happening in a World Cup. That full stop. That's what's going to be the case. So when Pakistan played India this time in the T20 World Cup, it was finally as if that, oh my God, Pakistan, they're going to get their win. This is it. The game was in the bag. What was it? They had to score how many runs? I forgot. They had a lot of balls. I think just
It
just
was
shy 100 runs. It was a very and they had like 7 wickets in hand or something. Easy victory, less than a run a ball almost, and they bottled it. They bottled it, right? And this wasn't even like a game like in the ODI World Cup where it was in India. They were playing on neutral grounds, so it was up for the taking, and they bottled it. And you can see it in the face of the players, the way they bat, the way they bowl. It's just not confident. It is just not confident. And it's really sad because in 2023, I remember, with likes of Naseem Shah, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Babar Azam, number one ODI ranked batsman. That's who he was before he came to the 2023 World Cup. Your Mohammad Rizwan, so many names, and we really thought that, oh my God, 1993 might happen again. Pakistan are gonna win the World Cup. That was that
92.
92. Yes, I just got myself. Yes, so they're gonna win the World Cup. The talk was coming. There was a lot of hype, and then it was one of the most disappointing performances I've seen. So yeah, that team, I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what's happening.
So, Sam, I want to say a couple of things here. We'll speak of the T20 World Cup a little bit more before we move on to other parts of Pakistani cricket.
Yeah.
But that game against the hosts, USA,
Aha!
one thing,
Netravalkar.
one thing that Pakistan never failed to do is give us entertaining matches. I'll give them that. They know how to entertain a crowd.
That is true. That is
They
very true.
took it all the way to the end, you know, and eventually it ended with the US tying the score at 159. They needed, I think, I can't remember exactly how many runs they needed in the last over, but it was completely big mess from, I believe it was Harris Rofe who was bowling actually
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that over. And oh my goodness, that this was obviously a huge win for the United States. Netra Valkar is amazing player. They have the likes of the experienced Corey Anderson in their squad now as well. But
Who's jump ship
it's
from New Zealand.
but it's really shows, you know, that it's this team are just they can pop on any day, pop off any day. It was incredible to me how poorly Pakistan played that game. It was all over the place. In that super over, you had experienced players like Harris Rofe, like Babar Azam, losing their cool, losing their calm because they were expecting to lose, and that's just something like we already said you can't have. Like you can't go into that mentality with that fear. But I want to bring on another point about Pakistan. That is, it was actually brought up to me by a friend of mine. He's from who happens to be from Pakistan as well, and he said that Pakistan in the next few years will win a trophy. And I asked, how can you be so confident? And they said, all Pakistan needs to win a trophy is some motivation from India. They
Mm.
said when India won the World Cup in '83 with Kapil Dev, Pakistan popped up with Imran Khan in '92.
Ah.
When India won the T20 World Cup in '07, Pakistan followed in with '09. When India won the Champions Trophy in 2013, Pakistan followed real quick in 2017. And now that India has won the T20 World Cup in this year, he believes. So a little bit of a, I don't know, humorous aspect to it, but maybe that is what they need. Maybe it's just they need that motivation from their neighbors, India,
That
to
is
do
true. That's an
that
interesting
the
stat.
recent Test match that against Bangladesh. This it was too disappointing. They were 450 something up for six in the first innings. Declared. It's not very often that you are on a home pitch, 450 plus, declaring the first innings, to then lose, especially against a team who has the record that Bangladesh have in away tests. It's truly mind baffling
uh,
what Pakistan have
managed
have
to
done in this.
achieve. Yes, no, I completely agree, and we can only hope that something turns around. Like you said, they get them maybe that motivation that all right, let's turn this thing around and just win it all. But so far, in my opinion, they have been the most it's disappointing team for what they have. That is for sure. So
Sam, I would like to come into this next segment with a little bit of a segue here.
yes,
Ravindra Jadeja, Liam Livingston,
mm,
and Mohammad Nabi.
right.
Do you know what the three of these players have in common?
Well, they've all beat Bangladesh.
It's not a very difficult thing to have in common. But these are the three players that currently are the number one all-rounders in the rankings of world cricket in tests, ODIs, and T20s. A spot that was not too long ago, for a very long time, held by one player.
Ah,
And we're moving in to this segment of the show, which I think we will try to have consistently a player spotlight, a player who we're really shining on. And with this player announcing their retirement, I think it's deems fair that we start our first episode about the man that took our country and put it on the world map of cricket. And of course, I'm talking about Shakib Al Hasan.
yes, Mr. Controversy. You know, Mr. What can I say? I mean, I think, this is not just, and I speak from a neutral standpoint here, because I've always had
We're always neutral.
always neutral, right? Even though I'm from Bangladesh, it's just that they have given me so much trauma while growing up. It's very hard to speak out of love. Yeah, no. The thing with Shakib is that, because we were really discussing this, right? If Shakib Al Hasan was played for like any other country, like like maybe if he was a Pakistani, if he was he was an Indian, he would have been regarded, he is, undoubtedly one of the greats, but it would have been a matter with, little dispute. Obviously, I think many can agree that the number one all-time, all-rounder at the end of the day is going to be Jack Callis, right? Because no one,
Unbeatable.
it's unbeatable, right? Like no one, I think within all-rounders, no one could really bat like him. He had that down to a T, and his bowling, goes without saying as well. So, but Shakib, he's up there. He's definitely up there. I mean, highest wickets T20I, right? I mean, that speaks for itself. Uh,
149 wickets is what he's
ab-
retiring with.
Absolutely. He's retiring at the top in that in the short format. The 2019 World Cup, it just goes. He was the only person playing in the Bangladesh team, and he was, if it wasn't for the fact that he could not play, a couple more games because they got eliminated in the group stages, right? He was up there with the top, run scorer on the top, wicket taker as well, which is like,
He was the highest spin wicket taker, I believe, in that tournament. Out
yeah,
of spinners, he was the highest wicket taker. He was in top four, I believe, three or four run scorers in that tournament as well, behind David Warner, Rohit Sharma, and I believe a couple of other players. But it
yeah,
was he's world class, and people talk about the 2019 World Cup, but he always has been world class.
that is
It just
true.
hasn't been it just hasn't been shown on media like it should be.
I agree.
And I think another player like that is Sikandar Raza of Zimbabwe. And
Mm,
I'm not going to be going into that because right now we're focusing on Chucky. Maybe that's for a different episode. But there are some players like this who are incredible players that just aren't highlighted as much. Um, his In the last maybe 4 or 5 years, his bowling has been, I think, a bit more impactful than his batting has been. He's he's had incredible numbers. He averages 37.8 in test matches since 2007 as a middle order batsman, 37.3 in ODIs since 2006. That's 18 years this guy has been at the top. His he's won several franchise trophies in T20 cricket as well. He's got championships in um IPL, in the BPL. He's broken records in the Caribbean Premier League. He's incredible. He's truly an incredible once in a generation kind of player. And people will look at players like Ben Stokes. They'll look at players like Ravindra Jadeja, who don't take anything away from them. They are incredible cricketers as well.
for
But
sure.
what Shakib has done for his country, I think, is unmatchable of any other all-rounder in recent cricket. Um, his bowling stats, he's retiring with 246 Test wickets, 317 ODI wickets. That's incredible. Like those aren't numbers you can just make up for players, and to do it in a team like Bangladesh, where there really weren't too many notable players before he came around.
That's true.
Is a feat in itself, and unfortunate. It is very unfortunate that the end of his career isn't as great as many Bangladesh fans or cricket fans would have hoped. He's had a lot of controversies, sorry, um, within off the cricket ground. However, been a lot of controversies on the cricket ground as well. I believe in
Hmm.
the World Cup last year, the incident with Angelo Matthews wasn't liked very much by a lot of players.
That is
His
true.
shenanigans with umpires don't go off very well with most people.
A bit of a hothead. A
A
bit
bit
of
of a
a
hothead
hothead.
indeed. And we were talking about hotheads not being the greatest people in leadership. But, at the end of the day, he is the face of Bangladesh cricket. And you know what? I really do hope that next month when Bangladesh play South Africa and Shakib plays his last ever games wearing that number 75 jersey, that he's given off a great send off because you might not like him as a person, but he has put this country's face on the globe in terms of
Absolutely,
cricket.
absolutely, and always a treat to watch. I must say, but I think with Shakib, I'd like to. That was our player spotlight for sure. Hope and as I said, hopefully he gets a hero's exit, and I hope that he can also return to his country with little to no harm. If you want to know why that is the case, do the research on your own.
That's not something we cover on this show.
That is
Not
not.
something
That is not something we
beyond our
cover.
scopes.
It's beyond our, yes,
Um,
indeed. But yes, do feel free to search why that is the case.
uh,
But
Before we move on from Shakib, I have a question, Sam.
yeah.
Is he one of the top three all rounders of all time,
Ooh.
considering all formats? I know you said Jack Callis was number one.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a two and three that are ahead of Shakib, or does he get a spot in that top three?
The thing with the all-rounder argument is that it's quite because you have to have a time frame because the game has really changed between eras, right? I mean, if you look at Imran Khan's time, right? Because Imran Khan, he started off as a bowler, then he started picking up with the bat. You know, they consider him an all-rounder towards that career, and he's won a World Cup. But at that time, the game was very different, right? He didn't have the luxury of playing the T20 as it is, right now and stuff like that. And then you can go even further back, to Kafpil Dev's time. So many names there. So it's quite hard to really put where Shakib would be because there is that he is missing the international accolade. That is like the key that he's missing, right? That is I so because of that, should he really go down more the order? It is one to really think about, right? I don't really have a definite list. It is a contested one, no doubt. So I would ask. So what about you? Where would you put him?
Jack Callis is number one for me.
Yeah.
Imran Khan is number two.
Mm.
I would put Shakib in number three.
Oh,
I may come from a point of bias, but I agree with everything you said. It is very difficult. It's not an easy choice to make. There were other greats, obviously, throughout the eras. I can't think of Kapil Dev is obviously you mentioned the name as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Sanath Jayasuriya is another name that's
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
absolutely,
be in
absolutely.
there. But Shakib Al Hasan, I think
I think
he's a class above the others. He was the number one. He was in the top three ODI ranked players for over 10 years straight.
and
Close to like 12, 14 years is what it was actually. And it's incredible. I don't think there is. Then I think he could have been higher up there if he had that international allocate. I could have even put him at number two behind Jack Callis, but I can't. I have to put Imran Khan above him. Um,
but yeah, no, I
Partners.
I agree
Even in
because
current players, there's obviously Hardik Pandya, who's a great. There, you get players like um,
like
Ravindra
Jadeja,
Jadeja,
yeah,
Ben Stokes, but the longevity has to play a part in it. Shakib's just been around for too long.
that is true. He's been around, and and I think one task that the other players did not really have was that he made an almost no-name country in the international scene just like a sort of like a staple, right? Like Bangladesh, they've gone from not being in the conversation, being like one of those teams that, oh, they've just started off cricket to one that, okay, like we can't take their matches lightly. They're here, they're around the block, they can cause upsets and stuff like that. So that was also a lot of pressure as well, to really lift up an entire nation and inspire many around him as well. That is for sure. So definitely, I agree with you. I think that is a valid claim, for sure. So yeah, so Shakib Al Hasan, that is our take. Do let us know if you agree or disagree. Um, always welcome in the comments. But now I'd now move on to the last bit to talk about some concurrent news in cricket. We've been
Test cricket has been going around for the last couple of weeks, hasn't
yeah,
it?
it
Worldwide.
has. It has. And then there's one name, because when you mentioned, Jayasuriya, I thought of Sangakkara. And when I think of Sangakkara, I'm like, oh my God, I miss him so much. But all of a sudden, he has been reincarnated in Kamindu Mendes. What a knock. What a
Unbelievable.
man. I have what a player.
Unbelievable. I think Sri Lanka, let's talk about them. I think episode one has been very opposite to what we started off with. We said that we want cricket to be talked about as a global sport and not just a South Asian sport. We've talked about all four South Asian teams only. But it's necessary because these are teams that are very
Yeah, they're in
uh
the news now. They're in
in
the news now.
they're in the news at the moment. Sri Lanka have been obviously a disappointing team in the last decade or so. I
Yeah.
mean, a decade ago is when they last won their last international trophy, that time of Malinga, Sangakkara, Jayawardena.
I was
But
there. I was there in the stadium.
as was I. That was I was 12 years old, so it's been a while.
It
It's been
is
a
true.
while since Sri Lanka have won have been good at cricket. It's been disappointing for them, but I think in the most unlikely format, they're looking to make a comeback, and that is in Test cricket. They won in England and then came back home and thrashed New Zealand. It
That is
was,
true.
I couldn't believe it when I woke up and saw the scorecard of 602 for 5 declared from Sri Lanka,
I think he
and
did
New Zealand,
185. It was 185
New
from Kamindu
Zealand,
alone.
New Zealand then going on to get all out for 88 runs. Like that is not something I was expecting to wake up and just see. Kamindu Mendes, obviously 182 not out of 250. He's climbed, I'll tell you, he has climbed the world rankings at the moment in Test cricket. But I think overall their team, I hope for Sri Lanka's sake that it's not one of those, oh, for a couple of days we're good and then we're going to become bad again.
Absolutely.
Because I really hope that they can make it up because they're on a roll at the moment. Kamindu Mendes, I've just checked, is ranked 11th now. He's really pushed up the Test batting rankings. But I really hope, for the sake of Sri Lanka, that they can continue this form, and it would be great to see them in the finals of the World Test Championship in London in a year from now.
And what I really like is that, because if they are really focusing on test, if in my opinion, if your team is in a bit of a slump and you want to sort of rebuild it, you have to focus on test, because once you teach the players how to play in test, the rest will naturally follow. Because test cricket is so different from ODI, from T20, the sort of mentality you need. You have to
Exactly.
sort of, you have to train yourself when to play what shot, when to bowl what ball, and like having just mastering that. If you can master that, ODI will follow, T20 will follow, and I really like that Sri Lanka is going down this path.
It's a mental game, and I like that you use that word because it's a word that's been quite a bit of a theme in this entire episode.
I
The
agree.
mentality of is such an important part of cricket, which is why Test cricket is as great as it is. A lot of people in recent years don't enjoy Test cricket. I won't even say recent years; I'll say recent decades don't enjoy
Mm,
Test cricket. But it's an art, and if teams are playing it right, if they're playing properly, it is unlike any other, no, I won't even say format, but unlike any other sport. Because I don't think any sport requires that amount of mentality as Test cricket does. You're playing a game for 5 days. Like, and in that someone says for 5 days straight, you can't lose your mental concentration. It's not an easy thing to do. It's unlike any other format or any other sport for that matter. Now, Sri Lanka have a huge test coming up. Before this, it's the only series that beg your pardon, they have two series left before the World Test Championship final in 2025 next year. One is a series against Australia at home,
mm.
and the other is a series away at South Africa. Now, they're both going to be difficult, but they're going to be a real, real test, I think, if they can win in South Africa and pull off something big in Australia. At the moment, the top two teams in the table of the World Test Championship are, of course, the two teams we've been talking about, India and Australia.
It's no surprises.
Sri Lanka's third at the moment. So it's doable for them. It's doable, but can they keep that mentality and match it with Australia? It's going to be very difficult.
And
Maybe close to impossible, but
I'm excited to see that. I'm
I,
excited to see
I'm
that.
very excited to see it as well. Um,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of big games coming up in cricket. I think this was we had a very good episode. We've covered a lot. Do let us know your thoughts. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Abraz? Any more last tidbits you wanna just poke to the fans over here?
Mentality, man. That's all you need. That's the key
Mentality.
thing. If there's anything you want to take out from this episode, strong mentality will win you games, will win you trophies. Weak mentality is like a certain team which shouldn't I won't mention the name of the team anymore, but we've covered them in the second portion of this
Mm,
episode.
absolutely,
Mentality like that
absolutely.
won't take you far, and it's something that I hope increases for all teams in the world of cricket so that they sport can grow as well. You know.
Y-
But it's been great having you, the viewers, on this first episode of Edged and Gone. And I hope you guys stick around because we have a lot to offer.
A
A lot,
lot
lot to
a
offer.
lot more to come. Definitely. So do if you're depending on where you're watching this, do leave your thoughts below. I'll try to post it in every single streaming media possible. So wherever you are, do let your thoughts know. If you want us to talk about X, Y, Z, a team of your choice, a player of your choice, or even suggestions about the podcast in general, saying that, oh, I do not like this host, get him out. We will try and accommodate that. So, so yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna do a throwback, which Abraz is gonna understand. It's good morning, good
Good
evening,
much.
and good night, wherever in the world
Wherever.
that you are.
That's right.